Hi, it's Wayne from TC Electronics and Marine. This particular unit was brought to me. It reads requires a new water pump, intermittent shifting problems, would jump out of gear, and it's noisy, as making noise. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to take it apart. We're going to reseal it. He's asked to have it resealed. So we're going to do the top first, because some of those problems that are mentioned there are probably have more to do with the lower unit than the upper unit, but we'll have a look. So we got a 3/8. I'm not sure what the... Okay, so we got the 4 bolts taken apart, and we're going to just use a screwdriver, and we're going to pop, just pry this lid up here. And it takes very little to pry it up. Okay. And I'm just, that's step 1. And step 2 is going to be taking the 2 clips. There's one here, one over here. And I'm going to get we have a fancy tool. It looks like that for taking the U-joints out, but I'm going to try and do it with a screwdriver, show you how, so anybody can take it out at home who doesn't have a tool like that. Okay, so I'm going to fill this U-joint out. Wow, here we go. The grease is just starting to come through, but that means it hasn't been greased for quite a long time. Okay, so we fill it up with grease first, and then we're going to wipe the grease off. Counterproductive. And what we're going to do is you're going to find the there's 2 clips in here. There'll be one on this side and one over on this side, and you need to catch the end of the clip with a screwdriver and just pop it out. And I'm just going to turn the camera off and do the work, because I can't hold it and do the work with one hand. As it is, my videos suck because I am shaking the camera so much. But, you know, trying to do what I can here to help people out. Okay, so that's it with it removed. These are the clips. And the reason you have to use the second small screwdriver, okay, this one, in the middle of the clip when you're taking it off, if you don't do that, if you don't push it with this screwdriver, the bigger one, and clip it off with and use this one to clip in the middle after you push it forward, you'll end up with bent clips and you won't be able to reuse them. And I'm sure a lot of you people don't want to buy an extra U-joint just so you can get a spare clip. So you might want to take your time when you're doing this to make sure you take them off correctly. Okay, I'm going to try and take the U-joint apart here, and normally you can just tap it. Okay, and you can see there you just tap it this way, and then we'll turn it around, or we can go the other way, and you can just tap it the other way. I usually take this one out first and then turn it around and do the other way. and it doesn't take that much. We do have a tool, but I realize most people at home, they're not going to have the tool, so I just want to okay, and that would be far enough out. You can either, sometimes it comes off with your hands. Whoa. You have to make sure that you don't lose any of the pins here. Okay, they're all in there. And there's also a seal that goes around here. You have to make sure that it stays there or you don't lose it. And you can see the grease that's in there. That's because we greased it. If you grease it first, you don't lose the pins. They don't go flying all over the place. That's it. Not a big thing. We're just going to do the other side and that's it. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. For most of you, before you start, you might want to just notch out wherever you're going to pull it through. You might want to put a little V. Just notch a little V and a little V here. Just take a little bit off each side. Okay, you can usually just file it just in case it ends up being tight here. Okay, right there when you're trying to pull it through. Quite often, some of them are. Okay, when you're trying to take this through. This particular one is not. When I put the camera down, it will actually come out very easy. You know, I don't know why, but some of them just come really, really easy, and other ones not so easy. Okay, so this would come like that, and it would just pull out. And this is the piece we don't want to lose. Alright, so no big deal. Pretty easy. Make sure you clean it all up before you put it back together. And make sure the clips are round with a radius like that. They're all bent, you need to replace them. Okay, after you take this off, we need to take this out next. And I've seen people who use a punch or try to use a punch, you know, like this, and usually all you end up doing is breaking off the lugs because it's on there pretty tight. Not really a good way to do it. This piece isn't really expensive if you do have to replace it, if you do break the lugs, but you know, usually you're not going to be able to tighten it up proper without the tool anyhow. This is the tool. Later on I will try to get you the our part number on it. Okay, and basically it just fits on there like that. You normally have to tap the end of it with a hammer to get it to go. At this point, your biggest problem, okay, is making sure that you have the housing securely in a vise or clamped down on a, you know, if you're at home, maybe you can turn it sideways and put it on the bench. Probably be an easier way if you turn it sideways and put it on the bench when you use the tool. It comes off, normally this comes out very easy with the tool. Without it, you break the lugs off normally. Okay, fits on like that. That's it. Once you get it loose, it normally just screws right out. If you can put some anti-seize or some grease on this piece here, okay, before you start, so that the thread area here It makes it a lot easier when you're taking it out. I've seen some where I go to take them out and they're dry, and you know, the water is leaked into here. There's been a hole in the bellows, and it sometimes is a nightmare getting it apart because no grease was put on it. Okay, this is just a piece of aluminum stock. You can use anything you have. Just put it in there like that. Okay. So you might even be able to use a piece of wood. I'm not sure. You know, this is a 1 inch aluminum, and what you do, just get yourself a small pry bar. Put this in here, and you don't want to put the weight on just a small area of the housing here. So if you take the wrench and put it up against there and pry that, I don't know if you can see that, but okay, and I don't know if you can see it, but I really got to get something to hold this camera, but you get the idea. Maybe, okay, I'm just going to show you. Okay, so it did pry it out, and you can see it's coming out there like that. And I'm going to pull this the rest of the way. Okay, that's it there. And there's going to be a spacer. Okay, so the first one that's coming out is a shim. Okay, this one here is a shim, and the one behind it is thicker. It's actually a spacer. So there's a spacer and then a shim, and it's for shimming the gear. Okay. And we have a Scotch-Brite. Oops, my coffee spilled. I can have anything happen. I can't have my coffee spilling. Okay, I've got a. Let's see if we can see it here. Yeah, it's made by Keen in Canada. There's another one that's available that's made in the States, but anyway, it's a Scotch-Brite material, and you just put it inside here, and you use the electric drill, and you polish it up. Okay, you want it polished. We don't want to fight when you have to put it back together. It should slide in and slide out easily. If the person who worked on it prior to me did not polish it up before he slid it in, you will know when you go to take it apart. They won't always come apart like this one. Okay, so I've got the one side off. I just want to show everyone again. Okay, so you just catch. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. Yeah, you can just see, and you just catch the end of it here. Okay, right there. Okay, we're going to slide up, catch it. We just push it forward a little, and we use a small screwdriver like this to put it down here. Okay, and just slide this underneath the clip and pop it off with the second one. That's the way I do it. It actually takes longer to show you how to do it than it actually does to just do it. So I got to put the camera down again. And I'm just going to glance over here to the gear part. This is the vertical gear here, and it just simply pulls straight up. Okay, we need to take this out in order to access the seals. And the gears on this, they are definitely usable, and really I can't see anything wrong with them. I need to take the oil off and have a look at the seal area here. The seal area is a problem that you could have at home. I guess you could order another shaft, but you know, then you'd have to press it. But if there's a groove there, or it's all rusty like this one here, you're going to have to polish it up on the lathe and try to take that groove out before you put a new seal in, or it's not going to seat out too good. So I guess that's the downfall of if you don't have a way of polishing this or access to a lathe. It's not a big job. It just takes 2 minutes and some sandpaper on a lathe and it polishes it right out. So these are the seals. Not sure how well it's going to show on this camera, but we're going to pop these seals out and replace them with new ones. And we're going to change this seal. Probably can't see it. There's a seal right there, and you can see it. There's like pieces of the seal coming apart. Okay, and that's where it's leaking right now, or was leaking. Okay. Okay, first thing we're going to do is that same 1-inch piece of aluminum, we're going to put it in. We're going to sit it in here so it seats out on the unit there. Okay. It doesn't take much. Okay, that's the seal from the bottom. Okay, came out this way. Notice I've damaged the seal taking it out. I hit this area here, you know, basically by using the punch to push it out. So you can't reuse it. And when you're installing it, install it this side here down. Okay, and the reason for that is to stop the water from coming in. So the open side, or the part with the spring, faces the water, this side down. Okay, so I've turned it upside down, and we've taken that seal out, and now I need to take the other seal out that's on the top side of this. So I'm just using a piece of aluminum. I don't know, it's about 14-16 inches. You just slide it in here, tap this down with a hammer, catch the seal. Comes out very easy. Okay, this is the seal, the large seal that was down there that we took out. You can see it's slightly damaged there, but we're not going to reuse it anyway. Okay, it'll be one in the kit. That's it. This is not that hard of a job to change the seals in this unit and take it apart. You just take your time and keep everything clean before you put it back together, and it really doesn't take that long. You can do the whole job in about a half an hour. Okay, so you can see there's a little bit of scoring in here. Okay, and this is the Scotch-Brite and electric drill. I'll just see it will polish this up in like about a minute or so. Don't need to take much. You just want to polish it up all the way around so that it slides in easy. But this is the key to being able to put it in and out without fighting it, is to make sure this is all polished and easy to go in. Okay, so we have this all polished, but unfortunately, I'm not sure if I can show you or not. There, you can kind of just see it there. It's kind of corroded. This unit here, the lower, where the lower seal was, the aluminum is corroded. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a wire brush down in there and clean that up. And when we put the seal back in on that one there, instead of using gasket compound, we're probably going to use 680 Loctite, so that it will fill in where the corrosion is eaten away on the side of the seal. Otherwise it would likely leak again. Okay, so it's just 680 Loctite we're going to use. It's the green retaining compound. Okay, looks like this. You don't need this size bottle. I know that this bottle is very expensive for the large size. You can use a little wee tiny bottle like this, or even a smaller tube of it, because even the small bottle is like 30 bucks. So, and you're only going to use it, you know, maybe once. Okay, I guess I picked a poor example to do. Well, because I'm old and decrepit and can't see too good, I'm going to sandblast this one on the inside here to get all that corrosion out of the seal area down there. I guess I should have known I was in trouble when, if you look at the case, it's in pretty sad shape. But anyway, normally, I guess a person at home you can just wire brush this out and use the 680 Loctite. We're just sandblasting it because it's faster for us, that's all. It takes about a minute to do the whole job, the sandblast material. I have a picture here with all the parts and the way they go. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. Hopefully you can stop the video and see where the parts go. So if you were to take one apart and not sure how it goes back together, hopefully this will help you. Hi, it's Wayne from TC Electronics again. I'm back at this after sandblasting it. And my problem is, I'll try and zoom in here if I can. I'm just trying to get you an idea of how much fill the Loctite. This is corroded substantially. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a coating of 680 Loctite on it now, and the 680 Loctite will fill in almost 30 thou. If I remember correctly. It's been quite a while since I worked at a tool and die place. But we used to use these in the bearing retainer, and would fill in almost 30 thou if the bearing had spun. So in the case of the seals, what we do is just put it in a coating onto that and a coating on the seal. that's going to go in there, which in this case will be a new one of these, and I'm going to leave it overnight. Both pieces overnight, and that will give them about 10 thou, and then I'll put one more coat just before I put the two pieces together. And pretty much I would say, I don't think I remember a time where it didn't seal after using the Loctite. In the old days we used to use the gasket compound, and it would just, the gasket would, or the seal, the oil seal would just blow out of there. So if you pressure tested it with 10 or 12 pounds, it would blow it out because it was too loose. But 680 Loctite, it holds, according to the manufacturer, 1,700 pounds per square inch. So it holds pretty good. Sometimes it holds so good that you have to heat it up with a torch to get the seal out, if you have to do the job again in another 300 or 400 hours. Okay, and you notice it's quite thick after I put a second coat on. Note, we're putting the spring to the outside. See if I can get a better picture. Okay. That's the way, and we're going to push down on it. You will need something long with a flat surface on the bottom. To push the seal down. You can see from this close-up here how much has been eaten away, but the Loctite will hold it in place for another 10 years, no problem. This here is the seal kit. That's the old seals down there, came out of it, and it's 87,500. This is what comes in the seal kit. And plus the seal that we already installed, and we're now going to install a larger one in here. So there's a gasket compound. Okay. It's a large, and it goes with the lip up in this case. It'll look like this one inserted. So I got a better picture of that. Cool. Okay, so we want to be able to spring. You should be able to see the spring from the top on that. When we're installing. Once again, we're gonna need a punch. It's got to be fair size. Fit in there. I'm gonna push it down. There we go. It's a little bit better picture. Okay. Going to put that in there. Has gasket compound on it. Just going to push it flat. Okay, I don't know if you can see it here. It's a tinge of green. Fills in the holes. You can see the Loctite where it's thick in the holes, where it's gathered, where it's been eaten away inside the seal. And can't really see it. Okay, but well, you can see the green residue that's left, maybe. Not even then, you can't see it that well. There, you can see it that way. That's green Loctite on there, a coat. It's been allowed to dry overnight. And now I need to place one more coat and then insert it in. And this is what it will look like after it's polished up. All the rust is off. There is a faint mark in one spot, but I don't want to take too much material off. As long as there isn't any pits. If there's any pitting on there, it would just tear up the seal. Okay, next we're going to take this unit apart. And when you put it back together, we'll be looking at about 90 pounds. And the setting to hold the pressure is actually on the washer. The washer is marked usually. I don't know if we can see it or not. Sure, make a liar out of me. Okay, NC, nut side? No. Some say this side up, some say nut side. Oh, I see it. It says NUT, nut. Okay, that makes sense. Can't see it too well though. Okay, so we want to put this in at about 90 pounds. I think 70 is what the manual says. 90 is what my gun is set for, so that's what we use here. The last couple of hundred I've done, never ran into any trouble with them. So, and we're just gonna, this should just slide apart now. I'm going to have to lock it up first. And I can't do it too well with one hand holding the camera. Okay, I gotta go to plan B, turn the camera off, just tap it and take it apart. But you can just tap the shaft down, support the bearing, and it normally comes apart quite easy. If you've never taken one apart before, okay, you can see the piece drop down there when I push down on it. What you should do is, okay, lay it all out in a row. So we got the nut. We have the washer that says nut side on it, and by the way, you need a new washer each time, and usually a new nut when you put this together. So make sure you order a nut and a washer, because the washer will be flattened, and the washer you receive, you will notice that there's an angle on it. It's not flat. And that's how the preload gets set from the washer. Kind of hard to explain, but so if it's the first time you're doing it, your best bet is to lay it all out, because the most amount of calls and problems I run into is people who take this apart. Actually, what they do is they just undo the nut and the shaft falls out and the pieces go everywhere is what happens. I'll attest to that right here. So let's just put it like that. Remember which way this is. Okay. You can see there's a few pieces here. Okay, so there's the two bearings. That's one bearing with the outside insert. There's an inside insert and an outside insert between the two bearings. Do this. I'm going to do this again. So I didn't have very good. That's the bearing itself with the race on it. This is the outside spacer, inside spacer. And this is the way this bearing here fits on. Okay? And this seems to be the biggest problem people have when they take this apart. They can't remember the way they took it apart. And we do have a drawing for it. This isn't really good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of the drawing and install that picture at the beginning of this video so that you can go back and look at the picture if you do screw this up and can't remember which way you go. In this particular case, what we're going to do, so we would leave this like that. We know that this goes just like that, and we know that this needs to go on here like this. So have a look, because you need to take this seal out that's in here, and you can see that the face on this is tore up. Now you can either put that on the lathe or replace the yoke, whichever you choose. But if you put it back like that, it will just tear up the seal the way it did. You can see this seal is all tore up, and that's what it's from. Okay? Can't put it back together when the face looks like this, all full of holes. I'm not sure if that's from salt water or what it is, but we'll see if we can polish it out. Okay, I tried polishing it, as you can see, but there's no way I can't get all the corrosion off, and I already took 10 or 15 thou, so there's not much choice. The yoke number is 28310, okay, and going to have to replace it with another one. And before you start, this is covered with a very thin oil, but if you don't wipe the oil off with a lacquer thinner, it can often interfere with sliding the bearing on. So make sure you clean it well, and the inside of the bearing, or else you'll have trouble putting it back together. And the next step will be changing the seal here. So once again, line the seal up. It's a double seal on this. So there's a seal on this side that holds the oil from going out. Okay, and there's a seal on the other. It's like a double lip seal. Okay, and we want the seal installed like so. Okay, there should be a spring here. There it is. Okay, the spring should be up, facing up, and it should be installed inside the seal. Okay, which it was. It's just that the seal is tore up, that's all. So the new one will end up going in just like that, dropping down there. One thing more I should mention: if the aluminum here is damaged, okay, for whatever reason, sometimes it's broken half, we do carry a replacement, and it already has the seal installed. Okay, and the number of it is 28370. If you want to do it that way, that's another way you can do it as well. But normally you take this seal out, clean the inside of it with lacquer thinner, wipe it down, wipe the new seal down. Even though it's brand new, you still need to clean it with lacquer thinner or give it a light sanding, and then put a coating of Loctite on it, especially when you're putting it back in an aluminum one, because more than likely this unit here, this is fairly loose in here. It's probably been changed 2 or 3 times. I mean, this unit is almost 30 years old, so this isn't the first time this seal is well, you can tell from the grooves on here, there's a pattern of like 3 grooves, so I would say it's probably been changed 3 times. So it's probably a few hours on this, but you know, they stand up pretty good. Okay, before putting it together or starting to do the assembly on it back together, put some oil on the outside of this and some oil on the inside. This, by the way, being the yoke, okay, this outside part there that fits into the seal here, and some oil on the inside of the seal. Okay, and I'm just gonna get rid of this for now because a new one comes with the kit, and we're just gonna take these two, and we're gonna slide it on there first. And I'm going to put the camera down and sort of put it together slightly. Okay, the bearing should slide back together. Make sure you put the inside and the outside spacer, this being the spacer here, before you slide it on. Slide it together. And it should press in reasonably easy. You should be able to just tap it down at the end to seat it out. Okay, we need to replace the tension washer, which puts the preload on the bearing, which is number 28330. And normally you change the lock nut, or at least we do here. Many people reuse them. 28360. If you do reuse it, you should use some Loctite on it. It'll be marked. I don't know if we can see this very good here. You can just see it. It says nut, which means nut side, and it's because it's on an angle. Okay, and as it flattens, it tightens up. So you slide this on so that you can read the nut, and then slide the nut on over top. It's that easy. There's no measuring for preload on the Timkins or anything. Just the 70 pounds torque. We use 90 just because the gun is made that way. Okay, and you tighten it up. Okay, that's easier said than done. There's 2 ways now you can do this. You can put this unit on a vise if it's exactly parallel, or you have some blocks or some V blocks and just tap everything down. Okay, it's not the preferred way, but that's one way. It's to make sure that everything lines up when you tighten it up. But the best way, so we have to line up the bearing. So you want to wipe all the oil off it. And one of the ways I know of making sure that it all lines up is to use this is used for pistons. I've had it for years. It's a gray tool, RC-2. Unfortunately, this seems to work the best because you kind of hit or miss going off the V blocks. But I know guys that use the V blocks. You know, whatever works for you, and I guess whatever you have. But if you can get a hold of one of these, you put it all together, tighten it up. It's just, I can't slide it on there because I got to wipe the bearings all dry, but we're going to slide this on there, tighten it up, and then we're going to put the socket on and go to 70 to 90 pounds. Okay, so we have it all together. The outside is snugged up all the way around. Should line up the bearings. This is, at this point, is just on loose. And we're just going to torque it up. Okay, now, after you torque it up, in our case what we do is we just place it in here and just torque it up with a torque gun. You should be able to turn it sideways, and you should have a preload of somewhere around 4 to 6 pounds. So you need to be able to hold this with one hand and turn it with the other and feel the preload on it. And it should be able to turn, and you shouldn't have to refit. If you do have to really refit to get it to turn, most of the time the bearing in the middle needs to be changed, or you've got dirt in it or something to that effect. Okay, but most of the time that means that there's scoring and the bearing's not seating out. In this case, it's not bad. It's not as good as a brand new one, but you know, I can probably move it with one finger, so it's not that stiff. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to put it back together. What you need to do is wipe it all out with lacquer thinner. This one here we don't have to because it was all sandblasted on the inside, so really clean. But normally you need to wipe it out pretty good. You don't want any particles in here at all. And polish this out. And if you had trouble with the threads or taking the unit out, you can wire brush the thread area here, and that will usually clean it up. There is a chase you can get to cut the threads, a manual chase that goes around on the inside, but hopefully you won't get to that or have that problem. But a wire brush by itself normally cleans it up. And most of the time, if the person has put it together with some anti-seize or grease, you're not going to have the problem. So add some oil to this area here, all around there. Put a little tiny bit on the bearing as well, doesn't matter. Then we're going to drop it in the seal, or place it, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and it should drop down, and you should be able to turn this here and spin it with one finger, okay, without too much resistance. We didn't change the bearings, and you just have to have a look at the bearings, and if there's no scoring and they look clean, you don't have to change them every time. And you need to have a look at the gears too, but in this case they look in good shape. If they would have stayed in with the corrosion eating out that seal on the bottom, would have been a different story. Another couple of hundred miles from now, or hours from now, sorry. Okay, this is a mistake a lot of people make. They either don't put the spacer or they don't put the shims back in. So you should insert them at this point and push them all the way to the back. Okay, and then quite often I put this together, and the O-ring I told you not to worry about, I forget until I pressure test it. So this goes on right around here. I think I'll put it on now rather than pressure test it and find out it's not in there, which is, I don't know why, but I've done that about 2 or 3 times. place oil inside the seal there, and not sure if this took or not. Just make sure that the seal is not pinched. Spin it around, push it on just like that. And don't worry about the O-ring here, we'll do that after we get it all together. Place it on. Okay, you can just use a wheel bearing grease here for this. Okay. Might want to push that in more. Just back that off until you can feel it, until it goes onto the first. You should be able to turn it all in by hand. If you clean the threads with a wire brush, it makes it so much easier to go through. Although this job did take forever, but that's mainly because I had to leave the seal area overnight, and playing with this camera and kind of remembering where you left off. If you're not playing this game with the camera, I would say this whole job, if you don't run into any problems, 45 minutes, an hour, something like that. So once again, you're going to require the tool. Make sure you put the O-ring in that I consistently usually leave out. And all I do is I snug it up. I mean, I'm an old guy. And then I usually just hold it. I have a small wrench there, and you can see the bangs on the side, and I just hit it a couple of taps like that. I have no idea what the torque is on it. It seems to be plenty. You then slide your hand down, and I'm not sure if you can hear this or not. That's the play. You need about 6 to 8 thou play in the gears. It should go back in place. You can't really see it here. It's a very small amount, actually. And there is a fancy tool that's on degrees, and you stop this one from moving and you measure the degrees. But if you're not changing the gears and you're not changing the bearings, it should go back with the same spacers if all you're doing is changing the seals. In this case here, we're going to, again, it's a new bearing, but and there's no scoring. The top cap looks terrible. It's all corroded, but it won't affect anything. We're going to change the O-ring here. Okay, and you're going to put some grease on there, and then we're going to put the one that came with the new one in, and put the cap on, and I'm going to pressure test it. And right after this video, we're probably going to make one more short video to show you how you can make a pressure tester yourself in about 5 minutes. Doesn't take long. And we got the cap back on, and this is a Loctite product. It's C5A, it's called. It's an anti-seize. It's a really good product. It stops it from seizing up if you're using it in salt water, or even in fresh water. If it's, this unit here, by the way, came out of fresh water, okay, and that it's corroded pretty bad, but it's been in the water a long time. I mean, it's no spring chicken. It's like 25-30 years old, this unit. Just a note to mention, we're only using 12 pounds on the gun to torque it with. Okay, that you don't have to reef up on them. On this here, you should have, I would think that I could come very close to, yeah, just turning it with my one finger. So, and I don't know if you can hear it or not, but that would be the proper sound if you have about 6 to 8 thou between the drive gear and the driven gear. Okay, and if this is binding here and it's too tight, then it's time to change the bearing. One more thing, if you put it together and you find it's too tight and you do have to turn around and change the bearing, remember that you may not have to change the nut necessarily, but you do need to change the washer that gives you the preload, because you will have pressed it together when you first tried it out. So you may want to think about ordering 2 of these. But on the other hand, if it doesn't work the first time, it probably means you need to change the bearing, so you're likely going to have to purchase a bearing anyway, so maybe 1 is enough. Leave that with you. And that's pretty much it. Those are the leftover parts there. Like I said, you could I just save some time. It's cheaper for me just to throw this away and grab a new one. But for the guy who's got lots of time at home, just switch it. Just press that out, clean it, and install the new seal, oil seal. And while you have it on the bench, just place some grease on this here. It isn't so much to make it move and greased, it's to stop the calcium from filling up the hole later on. This person mentioned something about shifting problems, and when I took this apart, this was really tight in there. So it should be able to turn it with your baby finger, okay? So it's oversized, so there's no reason it should be tight, but it was, taking it out. I actually sandblasted it from the other side to get all the corrosion off. And now I got to flip it around and install this into the rubber. I'll flip it around and take a short video. Again, you put some Loctite on the end. It helps hold it into the rubber. Okay, I have some Loctite on there, and it's just going to press into the rubber receiver there. Not sure what they call it. And you should just tap that with a real small hammer. Make sure it's seated out. If that would have been done prior, it would have stayed in there. Okay, so this way, when you take it off, you know, 4 or 5 years from now to change the impeller. Okay, I ran out of batteries. So that was about 2 hours ago, and I can't remember my train of thought of where the hell I was. Anyhow, basically we're pressure testing it here by putting it in the side where the screw normally goes, the oil screw. We set it to about 14 pounds. You can see that. This contraption here we made. I'm going to let the air out. It's been long enough anyway. Just going to have to turn this off to, there's a nut on the other side I need to grab with the other end. You place some grease on this all the way around, usually. And just so you understand, if this is polished correctly, and you put it together using one of these, you should be able to slide it in. Should be 2 or 3 thou there, just enough to slide it in. So if you can't slide it in, you need to take it out, polish the inside with a Scotch-Brite. This one's almost wore out, but that's the idea. And actually, the more it wears, the finer the polish. So you can use them forever, almost. Put some grease on here, or some anti-seize. We just use grease, and it'll make it easier coming out. Okay, here we go. This piece here we made, it's just made it faster for us, that's all. You don't have to have this. Okay, the reason we need this monstrosity though that we did make, and this is just a piece of silicone that came out of the tip. It's left in the tip after you use it. So the next time you use a piece of silicone, just steal a piece that hardens in the tip, because it works perfect for this job application here. This is the port, okay, for the oil that flows when you're filling it. It goes from the bottom to the top. So we place this silicone in here and we clamp it down. But you can do this with by just, I don't know if this will reach or not. It will come pretty close. You can put something in between there. You need to just clamp that. If you just clamp it down, you can use anything. Piece of silicone here, okay, or you can use a piece of rubber over top of this. If you have a wider clamp, you can use one of these with some silicone. That's a cap that's used for filling oil. Whatever you have around. The silicone does, believe it or not, the piece that's stuck in the gun, for whatever reason, works the best. Been using this for a long time. Okay. And this did pressure test for about 2 hours, and it held the 15 pounds, didn't move. So I'm happy with the seal. The Loctite that we placed down there, because many of a marina who doesn't know the trick about installing the Loctite would just tell the customer he's got to replace the case. Or the customer would throw it out. Like anyone who's not familiar with the Loctite product, it's been out for a while now, quite a long time, but just the same. Okay, that said, people using this video are gonna need a pressure test kit and some tools. So I'm just gonna go over that. Okay, the pressure test kit. Okay, it's a cooling pressure test. Okay, it's the one for cars for your radiator. It goes to 30 pounds. We only need 15. Not even that. 5 or 10 pounds will tell you the story. If you can stop 5 pounds of air, you're definitely going to be able to stop 2 pounds of water. So this is the way it comes. We fill it to the blue mark here. That's 15 pounds. If you're using, this is a Princess Auto one. There's all kinds of auto stores in everywhere you go that carry this unit. You cut the hose. You might want to save it in case you actually need to use it for what it's made for. Something I've never done. So we cut the hose off, and we use here's one that's done. Okay. Now, where do we get this part from? Well, it's the bottom of the oil fill unit. That one there. And as you can see, you have to cut about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch off. Yeah, about 1/4 of an inch almost off the thread. Otherwise the thread's going to be too long and it's going to bottom out when you screw it in. And you just insert it into the tube. This tube here. Take this one off, use some hot water, plug it in, and away you go. After a while, if you use this piece a lot, it starts leaking right where I got my thumb there. And we just put some JB Weld in there. First I used some other compounds, but the JB Weld stopped the air from coming through. And for whatever reason, some of them work just fine without putting anything in. When you're pressure testing it, if you do lose air, what you can do is just get some dish detergent, go 50% water, 50% dish detergent, and spray it on the area you can hear, and just spray it all over, and you'll be able to see where the leak is. The most amount of leaks and the biggest problem I have is in the test equipment leaking. Usually this tube here breaking. These here, I have a couple of snap-on ones. They've broken, you know, where they leak down after a while. And you know, these are quite good units. They do stand up, but they get dropped on the floor and everything else over the years. So this one's definitely seen better days. It's stuck on the green mark. But that's it. Okay, so here's some parts you need. Small screwdriver, an even smaller one for the clip, to pull the clip out, to keep it straight so you don't bend the hell out of it. A brass wire brush on the drill, if it's all corroded, for the seal, the small seal. 9100 is the number for the for this unit here. The wrench. As long as you don't mind paying shipping, you can return this after you use it if you want. If you're only using it one time, just send it back. You know, if you're buying the rest of the parts off of us, don't worry about it. We'll take it back. This one I can't help you with. It's a piston. It's a 4-inch piston to hold the piston rings in and the piston. I'm sure they sell it at an auto store. This one's like 40 years old. I used it on a car years ago that I used to keep pulling the pistons out of for racing. We'd probably go 40, 50 miles on a track with nitrous oxide and have to switch the pistons. Crazy. Broke the beam in my parents' garage, almost collapsed the garage, you know, trying to use it. But I had a lot of fun. Okay, the Scotch-Brite, okay, material, pretty cheap. Just need to make sure you get the Scotch-Brite, not the sandpaper, so you can polish the inside. You may need one of those yokes. You won't know till you get it out, because you can't polish that out even if you have a lathe. If you take that out, it's going to make it too small and the seal's going to leak. One more thing, you may want to purchase one of these with the seal in it, because they're reasonably cheap, and it's actually cheaper than using my time to install one. So that's up to the individual. Another thing you need is you may need some gasket compound for the inside seal, a large one. Use gasket compound. You should use a little gasket compound on the small O-ring that goes at the top for the top lid all the way around. You can use, some people use grease. I have a tendency to like the gasket compound. In with the kit there is 2 nylon, I'm not sure what you call them, but seals, O-rings, whatever. There's 2 nylon pieces that slip over top of that come with it. The blue one you see there is the one that was on it when I took it apart, a Teflon one, which is actually better than the nylon. These parts here, okay, we're going to use the ones that were there. I don't need to take this apart, So for the most part, we're not going to use this. And another one comes when if you install for the lower, it's for the water pump, and one comes with the water pump as well. So basically, you're probably not going to use those. Okay, here's a big one. This little square O-ring here needs gasket compound put on it, and it goes between this port here so that it doesn't leak and the lower unit. I do have a lower unit here, in fact the one that came off of that one. Okay, there's a little recess in there. You put the gasket compound in there and you drop it in there, leave it on, push it into that little recess, and it'll stay there with the gasket compound. Put the gasket compound on both sides. This area here causes a nightmare for a lot of people. You know, they say they put it all together and it's leaking, and what happens is they just plain forgot to put the O-ring in there, and they got the whole thing all back together and on the boat at this stage when they're phoning me. And they say it leaks in between. Yep, sure does. So just remember that part. Don't learn the hard way. And I think that's just about it. If you have any questions, you know, thanks for watching. I know the video is not that great, really shaky, but if you live in nowhere land, you might be forced to do this on your own. If it helps anybody, you know, I'm glad of it. You could help us out by pressing the like button, that you actually liked the video if you did, and if you want to subscribe. When a new video comes out, you could probably get an email or something saying that there's a new video out. We plan on doing a few, but I'm hoping to get a proper camera. I'm just and some kind of a tripod, if that's possible, to hold it while I'm doing it. And one more thing is, this is the crazy tool we made. It actually comes in handy if you're in this business. Just get a piece of aluminum and put that piece in there, and it clamps it down. That way you can leave it overnight like what we do to pressure test. Best way of pressure testing is to leave it overnight. I just try and finish a job off. You know, it only takes about an hour to do this, so before I leave I try to do one job and just leave it here overnight to pressure test. 95% of the time it holds overnight. Most of the time when it's leaking right away, it's usually the pump, believe it or not. Sometimes you crack the tube here, it breaks a lot. I mean, not a lot, but after 10 or 20 uses, or if I drop it on the floor, things happen, you know. Thanks for watching, everyone.